Zookeepers of Reddit, what's the most human-like behavior you've witnessed in an animal display? During penguin nesting season, I once saw a rockapper couple who had built a nest way up high at the top of a mountain of rocks. The lady of the house decided that she needed to redecorate the home and sent the male to find a suitable rock to add to the decor. As he hopped down the rocks, he was squawked at and pecked at by several other rockappers with nests, getting beat up all the way down to the ground where he started looking for pebbles. He finds one he likes and ascends up the mountain to once again brave the very territorial, biting, screeching rockappers along the way. She lays the pebble down for his missus, and she slaps the shit out of him. She hates it. Immediately getting the point, he returns for a third pass at now even more pissed off rockappers back to the ground. This time, he's not playing. He spends a good 10 minutes looking for a rock that he likes. And boom. There it is. He tries to pick the rock up and immediately drops it. He tries again. Drops it. He tries one final time and it's just too big for him to carry. So his response? He throws his head back, flails his flippers about, and cries to the sky. I did not see him return home for the rest of my shift. Actually, as a keeper, and one of our ocelots will eat anything and everything, even though he has a sensitive stomach and knows he'll puke. His specialty is catching opossums or squirrels and eating everything but the head, which he carefully positions in full view of the public next morning. We also have a family group of gibbons, parents, a subadult, and a baby. In the wild, young adult gibbons stay with their parents for a few years and learn how to take care of their younger sibling to prepare them for parenthood. Our young male, who is the equivalent, if a 12 to 13-year-old human, once tried to grab the baby from mom, who smacked him upside the head. She then went back to teaching the toddler to climb by sitting next to the wire of the fence, letting her baby get 6 inches off the ground, then clutching him back to her chest because that was high enough. I worked in South Africa for a bit last year. We have 4 giraffes on the prairie, one of which was a lovely lady named Camille. One day they were roaming at the fence neighboring the farm next door, where a kudu named Charles lived. Google what a kudu is. They're cool looking. Camille and Charles absolutely fell in love. For days they stayed at the fence and wouldn't leave. Finally, Charles decided he'd had enough. He jumped the big ass fence, a fence large enough for a giraffe, and now spends his days roaming our property with Camille. The people next door were really awesome and let him stay with us. Former zookeeper here. I mostly worked in the reptile house and with reptiles and large rodents for educational shows. However, I did a bit of work with some mountain lions and a very fat black bear named TJ. The mountain lions were an absolute trip because, get this, they played hide and seek, not even 100% predatory behavior. They would run behind trees until you found them. They are still cats, with the impression that hiding their heads makes them invisible. Come out, swat you on the ass, and go hide behind something else. TJ was one of the laziest animals I have ever met. I regularly found him lying down, eating food out of his dish, off of his stomach Baloo style with his legs spread in the direction of the oncoming breezes. We kept a wood-duck in our butterfly house exhibit at my previous workplace. When he was in his full glory, with his beautiful colors and feathers, he would be all up in everybody's face and would want attention, attention, attention. But as soon as he molted into his drab colors for the summer, he would sulk and be cranky and hide in his pond. Shows off when he's pretty, hides out when he's not at his best. Pretty human to me. Finally, a question I can answer. While I'm not officially a zookeeper yet, I'm the girl in charge of scooping shit out of the Komodo dragon cage and various other reptiles. Mr. Komodo and I have a little tradition. I go into his fine establishment, mop away a basketball-sized slosh of excrement, and taking a step away, he'll immediately let it go in the same spot that I cleaned up. Through this isn't really what can be considered human-like. I'm always amused about how the moment I appear Mr. Komodo spreads his legs in preparation. He doesn't lash at me either, which is something he does even at the person who feeds him. My dog once thanked me. He was trying to find a comfortable position on his pallet, but it was all wrinkled and folded over itself. So after he grumpily plopped down, I went over and tugged at the corner of it. My dog looked at me and then got up. I fixed it for him and he laid down, so I went to sit down. A beat later, my dog got up and walked over to me. He licked my knee and went back to lay down. That's one of the reasons that I consider my dog was a person instead of an animal. I work at the San Diego Zoo and the peacocks love attention. They fan out their feathers at routine times every single day in the same exact spots, just for the crowds of people to come and give them attention. They do this with no peahens in sight. It's kinda funny. I want to be a zookeeper, so I did a volunteer thingamajigger at the San Diego Safari Park. Our instructor was an elephant trainer. She said it's normal for the zookeepers to leave dead elephants in their enclosure for a day or two, so the elephants can mourn the loss of an elephant. Cries, standing around the body, signs of depression. I know this sounds stupid, but I'm pretty sure my dog went through a grieving process and period of depression when his mom died. She was 7 when she had him, and he was the only puppy to survive. They never spent a day apart until she died aged 15. When she died, I literally think he cried, like his eyes leaked. Maybe it was just windy that day, or maybe he always does that, but I never picked up on it, but it broke my heart. He's a very big energetic Springer Spaniel, and he is the best dog in the world. He is a ray of sunshine and my best friend. He would never do anything to hurt anybody. He always wants to cuddle and play. But for 2 or 3 weeks after his mom died, he didn't want to play and he had no energy. He only got out of his little bed to eat and drink and poop. He wouldn't even come for walks. Again, has a very big strong dog, so if you put the leash on him, he'd just resist until I gave up. I could hear him whimper every night until I went downstairs and stayed with him until he fell asleep. It was so similar to human loneliness. I brought him to the vet and she couldn't find anything physically wrong with him, and she put it down to grieving. Thankfully a year on he's the happiest dog in the world again. Polar bears are smart as fuck. They will purposely try to deceive you and even mock you. Bastards. Edit. People want me to elaborate. Here you go. You always work protected contact with polar bears, fencing barriers between you and them. There is usually a small gap running along the bottom which is large enough for a bear to get the front part of their paw through, so you never stand up close to the stainless steel fencing. The fence is usually some kind of 2x2 holes that you can pass food through, and there are food chutes too. Mocking me. One time I decided to have a play session with one of the bears. I took bucket lids, which are small enough to slide under the gap I mentioned earlier, and smeared them with peanut butter, honey, and other treats. Then I got on the ground in front of the pen and was zipping the lid back and forth on the ground, just out of reach. The bear was pouncing along and having fun, and finally when I faked him out and he pounced left, I shot the lid under to cage to the right, air hockey style. He went bounding after it, ate the treats, and came back with it in his mouth. This is the mocking part. He sat down in front of me with the lid still in his mouth and just looked at me for a few seconds. Then he dropped the lid to the floor, put a paw on it, and proceeded to zing it back and forth just out of my reach, like I did to him. Bears, 1 keepers, 0. The deceiving part. One bear I worked with was very sneaky and would try to trick new people. They love it when you act startled. So if you're a jumpy person, you might as well paint a giant target on your forehead, because they will try to act like they are not paying attention to you, and then Randy Orton style, out of nowhere, leap up and hit the bars at full height and make freak out. So back when I was new to this bear, I accidentally dropped a fish on my side of the bars. Your instinct is to pick it up, but that is exactly what you should not do, because that puts you too close to the cage. He tried to stick his paw under and get it, but couldn't quite get it. He tried and tried, made sad puppy sounds, etc. But I ignored the fish on the ground, finished our session, and walked away. After I got a few paces away, I looked back just in time to see him stick his paw under the bars, fully engulf the fish no problem, and pull it back under and eat it. I work with exotic animals, though not in a zoo yet. We have a marmoset, little monkey, that does lots of little, oddly human things, but her most recent / most creepy thing is her new method of asking for food. If you've got something, and you aren't sharing, she'll sit in the corner of her enclosure, then turn, look over her shoulder, and look up at you with background eyes, until you give in, or she gets mad. She looks just like a little girl bribing her father. We aren't really sure where she got it from. Zookeeper here. Seeing ring-tailed lemurs literally laid out flat on their backs on the grass on a sunny day. Also a lemur casually sat on a post with one knee raised and resting his arm on said knee. The other hand was holding onto the mesh. Casual as fuck. Oh, and a mandrill getting pissed off and throwing his toy away when he couldn't figure out how it worked.